You and I are going wine shopping together. You can find a sensational bottle of wine for criminally low prices. Let's get started exploring and tasting new wines together. Hello friends, let's dive into another delicious bottle of wine together. And this week, I've chosen a bottle that showcases a grape that's usually a key part of making some of the most famous blended red wines in the world, like Chateauneuf de Pape. It can be very tricky to make on its own as a single varietal wine, but that's exactly what we're tasting today. This is 100% Garnacha from the Spanish region of Calatayud. Let's begin with that grape, Garnacha. You may be more familiar with it by its French name, Grenache. It's hotly contested where in the world this grape came from first, whether it be northern Spain or southern France, with each country claiming its origin. But because we're focusing on a Spanish expression today, I'm going to be calling it Garnacha for the rest of this BYOB. Garnacha is one of the most planted grapes in the world, but because it's a late ripening grape, it loves a hot, dry climate like you find in Spain or southern France. It's also grown on the Italian island of Sardinia, Australia, and the California regions of Paso Robles, Santa Barbara, Monterey, among others. One of the challenges of producing a single varietal Garnacha wine is the grape's tendency to produce high alcohol wines. Because it is a longer ripening grape, the sugar in the fruit easily reaches high levels, which then convert to higher alcohol wines. Garnacha wines can be very soft on the palate as well, which is why it's so often blended with other grapes like Syrah, Mourvedre, Carignan, Cinsault. These grapes provide tannin, they provide color, and they round out the finished wine. So it's a fun technical challenge for a winemaker to make a solid Garnacha or Grenache single varietal wine. One place that Garnacha does very well all on its own, and the place that this wine is from, is the northeastern Spanish region of Calatayud. It's right next door to another region called Aragon, which is most likely where this grape came from, so Garnacha is very much at home in this part of the world. It's the perfect place for the grape. It's very warm, it's very dry, and Garnacha is the main grape here, making up over 55% of vineyard plantings, and many of those vines are over 50 years old. The wines here must be a minimum of 12.5% ABV, which is absolutely no problem at all. In fact, a lot of the wines from this area, the Garnacha wines, get up to 15% ABV, which is quite high in alcohol, quite toasty. But as we know, Garnacha has a tendency to lean a little higher in alcohol. If you happen to grab a different bottle of Garnacha from Calatayud and it says Superior Calatayud, that means that it has to be at least 85% Garnacha in the bottle, and those grapes have to be coming from low-yielding old vines, at least 50 years old. So the bottle that I found was at Trader Joe's for $6.99. It's La Sonriente Garnacha from Calatayud. And I mean, what a freaking deal, $6.99, crazy. And you, again, don't get to see a lot of Garnacha or Grenache all on its own. So very, very special, great deal. As far as color goes, it's not super deeply pigmented. It's pale to medium. As far as the depth of color on this wine, I can still see my fingers through it. It's this lovely, bright, ruby, garnet color, just gorgeous jewel tones. And on the nose, you get all of this lovely candied red fruit notes, very ripe, very juicy. It's almost like I have a bowl full of pink and red Jolly Ranchers or lollipops or something like that. Strawberry, cherry, red plums. There's a little blackberry in there as well. Absolutely just jumping out of the glass, but it's a little floral. You get little notes of violets, herbaceous as well. You've got sage, thyme in here. You also tend to get lovely toasty, warm spice notes with Grenache or Garnacha. Cinnamon, nutmeg, little black pepper in this as well. And there's a fun earthiness, a little leatheriness. In a lot of Spanish Garnachas, you can get this lovely minerality. There's a little bit in here, it's not like super present. I would say this is mostly fruit. A little of that crunchy kind of granite. It also has this fun note of cola or root beer, which is something that I get a lot on like Sonoma Pinot Noir, sometimes Oregon Pinot Noirs as well. I know we don't like to compare grapes to each other. They're all very singular, but there are some fun little overlap between this. Both are light-bodied, very elegant wines. This is a lot more fruit than earth, though, on the palate. Well, this Garnacha had no problem getting acidity at all. Medium plus acidity, that's the first thing that's jumping out to me. Moderate tannins, they're very soft, very round and velvety. They're not it's not super grippy at all. Medium body to light body. This is a great red wine to throw like a little chill on, if you're into that. Moderate alcohol, I mean, this guy's 14%, I'm feeling it, but it's not as high as it can go, as we talked about that 15% or higher sometimes, like that's a lot. No alcohol out of balance, throwing this wine out of balance here, which is great. A nice length of finish. I'm still getting all those nice juicy fruit notes, a little more earth on the palate, a little more cedar, leather, and the baking spices. Absolutely delightful, approachable, easy drinking wine for $6.99. Great deal. And it's got a lovely range of possibilities when it comes to food pairing. Garnacha does in general. There are some beefier Garnachas and Grenaches out there, especially when you start throwing them into blends, places like Priorat, where you have Garnacha and Tempranillo, and then of course Chateauneuf du Pape when you've got Syrah, Mourvedre, and a bunch of other grapes in there, and they can get quite hefty and robust. This is a lighter expression, very playful, very fresh. So as far as pairing goes, I'd stay towards the lighter side of the protein, you know, the poultry, the pork, even grilled fish would be great with this, like grilled salmon, grilled trout. I had grilled branzino last night actually with chimichurri sauce, and this would be very fun with that because it's light enough to not overpower the fish, but the fish also has these, you know, stronger notes, the charcoal from the grill and the chimichurri and garlic and all that good stuff. Great with that. Great with dishes that have the warmer spice components. Paprika, nutmeg, Asian 5-spice would also be fantastic with this. Perfect charcuterie board wine for your holiday parties coming up. Also with the cheeses, when you start getting to the saline cheeses, you know, the salty cheeses like Manchego, absolutely delicious with that. Once you start getting into those beefier garnachas that I mentioned, that's when you start going, you know, the steak root, the lamb, all the bigger protein. But this is very, very easy and approachable to drink. Great deal for $6.99. What do you think about Garnacha? Have you had a chance to try it on its own yet? Have you had it in blends? Let me know what you think about the grape. I always love a chance to get to try a single varietal Garnacha or Grenache because when it's done well, it's just so fun to drink. It's just so lovely and juicy. Love it. So let me know what you think, and until we share our next bottle of wine together, keep exploring and trying new wines. Cheers.